The President, please be seated. Before we hand over to the co-prosecutors, the Chamber wishes to note that according to the order to bring Mr. Kilsampon to the courtroom during this document hearing, and having noted the time needed for the session, and the Chamber would need 2.5 days to finish the hearing. However, the sessions are not yet concluded. The Chamber wishes to order that Mr. Kilsampon remain in the holding cell to observe the proceedings during the course of the presentation made by Mr. Co-Prosecutor until its completion. The Chamber wishes to hand over to the Co-Prosecutor to proceed, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, Your Honours. During my last presentation, I was unable to identify the ERNs for document E3/201, which was the April 1977 speech delivered by Khieu Samphan. So I now provide the English ERNs for the record, and they are of the passages that I read. They are 00419 512 513 514 516 and 517. And as we leave the speeches delivered by Khieu Samphan during the period 1975 to 1979, I would note one further point of relevance, and it is the following. All of the anniversary speeches were delivered after the 30th of March 1976 decision of the Central Committee, which of course has been presented before. This is the document that my colleague discussed yesterday, a document which issues the right to smash inside and outside the ranks. It is E3/12, and of course, as Your Honours are aware, it is dated the 30th of March 1976. Being a decision of the Central Committee, of course it is a decision of a body of which Khieu Samphan was a member, and as I indicated, the annual anniversary speeches that we looked at were all made after the issuance of this decision. The next group of documents that we will take you to, Your Honours, are a small set of records that relate to reports and correspondence issued by the international organisation Amnesty International, which sought to bring to the attention of both the government of Democratic Kampuchea and of the world public at large the allegations of crimes being committed in Democratic Kampuchea. So these documents are relevant to Khieu Samphan because some of them are addressed to him in person But of course they're relevant to all of the accused because they are documents addressed to the government and deal with the actions of the government. The first document in this collection is document D84/2.5. It is dated the 20th of February 1977, or rather the 28th of February 1977. It is a letter from Martin Anay, who was then the Secretary General of Amnesty International, and it is addressed to Mr. Khieu Samphan as President of the State Presidium of Democratic Kampuchea. And I believe we will shortly display a translation of this into Khmer. The original is in French. This particular document raises concerns about a repatriation of a number of Cambodian citizens to Cambodia. And the relevant passage reads as follows. Quote, "I am writing to you today concerning a matter that is causing great concern in international circles in the hope that you can provide us with your comments regarding the fate of 26 citizens of Democratic Kampuchea. The 26 individuals in question, natives of Samrong in Soray Sisophon district, Battambang province, are reported to have travelled to Thailand on 17 October 1976. It is reported that on the 23rd of November 1976, the Thai authorities handed them over to the Kampuchea Democratic authorities at the Aranya Prathet border post. The next paragraph of that letter states, shortly after these people were made to return, several newspapers reported that they may have been executed in Kampuchea. One article reported that 20 of them may have been executed and that the 6 others were detained. It has also been reported that the entire group may have been executed after spending 3 days in Mongkol Baray. In view of the seriousness of these accusations, Amnesty International appeals to the government of Democratic Kampuchea to launch an investigation and to provide details about the fate of these 26 individuals. I would also like to call your attention to the persistent reports that in certain case areas, Cambodian citizens are subjected to threats and acts of brutality by some local authorities in Kampuchea. The most alarming reports are being circulated, and there have been several accounts of citizens who are considered as, quote, enemies by some representatives of the authorities being removed from their places of work and taken to unknown destinations while their families are unaware of their fate. There are also accounts of summary executions, and recent reports indicate that there is a camp holding 1,200 families in Phnom Tipadei to the west of Battambang. Further down, the letter finishes as follows. As I pointed out in my letter of 11 May 1976, Amnesty International cannot comment on whether these allegations are true. However, our organisations and other international organisations are gravely concerned about the lack of any comments by the government of Kampuchea and are quite anxious to hear your government's views. It is in that spirit, Mr. President, that I hereby submit for your consideration the request to allow a delegation from Amnesty International or other international organisation to travel to Democratic Kampuchea in order to address this widespread concern about this issue. And the letter ends with, accept, Mr. President, the assurances of my highest consideration, Martin Anay, Secretary General. Attached to the letter is a list of the names of the 26 individuals who were handed over, according to Amnesty International, by Thai authorities to Cambodian authorities. We have on the case file what appears to be a related record. And this document is E3/961. E3/961. It is a report or a table which is issued by the Democratic Kampuchea Revolutionary Military Committee of Northwest Zone, and it is entitled Letter to Angkar with the attachment of a list of persons. And it states, "We would like to send these traitors, totaling 25, who have been sent back by the Thai authorities." And we will try to display this table on the screen. Your Honours, when one compares the names in this table addressed to Angkar with 25 traitors, with the list in the previous document, D84/2.5, the Amnesty International letter, several of the names appear identical. So, for example, individual number 1 in the table to Angkar is named Prok Yim, age 31, sex male. This individual is number 4 in the Amnesty International document. Number 2, Yim Let, age 39, male, appears to be number 15 in the letter of Amnesty International. And by way of illustration, I will continue. Number 4, But Hin, 25 years of age, a male. This individual appears to be number 7 on the list provided by Amnesty International. And so it continues. Several of these names, in fact the majority, appear to be identical to the individuals whose disappearance was brought to the attention of Khieu Samphan by Amnesty International. What is also of note in relation to the table that was submitted to Angkar is the fact that this document was considered in the first trial, in the first case, and the transcript reference to that document, the reference to the transcript rather, is D288/4.28.1. It's the transcript of the 8th of June 2009. And in that transcript, Keng Giek Yuv alias Dutch.
The President, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, could you repeat that ER number again?
Certainly, Mr. President. The case, so the document number for the transcript from case 1 is D288/4.28.1. It is dated the 8th of June 2009. And the confirmation by Dutch that this is an authentic record which bears his annotation at the end is found at the following passage of the transcript. In Khmer ERN 00338771 to 774, French 00338661 to 665, and English 00338548 to 551. Amnesty International continued to express its concerns about the allegations of crimes committed by the government of Democratic Kampuchea. And in fact, on the 8th of May 1977, they published a press release. This is document E3/3311, E3/3311. The press release refers back to the letter that we looked at earlier, and it says the following. It is a one-page document. The International Human Rights Organization said that in February this year, it had appealed to President Khieu Samphan to look into the fate of 26 Cambodian citizens forcibly returned to Cambodia by Thailand in November 1976. The 26 persons, mainly farmers, but including an 11-year-old child, were later reported to have been executed shortly after their return to Cambodia. Skipping one paragraph, the press release says, the appeal to President Khieu Samphan was contained in a letter which also referred to reports alleging summary executions and maltreatment of civilians by local authorities in some areas of Cambodia. As with previous inquiries made by AI to the government of Democratic Kampuchea, the letter has remained unanswered. Your Honours, we will move on to the next document now, which again illustrates, or rather is relevant, because it illustrates the continuing efforts by Amnesty International to publicise the alleged commission of crimes in Cambodia. This document is D84-Annex A-01, D84-Annex A-01. It is an extract from the 1975 to 1976 Amnesty International report, which appears to have been issued in 1977. The Khmer ERN is 00597-825, French 00607-934, and English 00004213. And the extract that I wish to refer to is as follows. During the 12 months that elapsed since the Royal Government of National Union Khmer, GRUNC, now called Government of Democratic Kampuchea, came to power, an increasing number of reports from refugees have been publicised in the international press. They allege widespread executions. Earlier reports concerned 7 leaders of the former Lon Nol government, termed super traitors, and condemned to death by the Second National Congress of the Cambodian people in February 1975. 4 of the 7 had fled the country before the Liberation Army entered Phnom Penh. In November 1975, Deputy Premier Ying Siri confirmed during a visit to Bangkok that 3 leaders of the former regime had been executed. I will note, simply for the record, the next relevant document is D313/1.2.352, which is also E3/3316. Again, this is dated 30th of March 1978. And again, Amnesty International calls upon the government of Cambodia to respond to the reports of alleged killings. The next document is E190.1.392. This one is dated the 14th of July 1978. Again, it raises reports of human rights violations which have not been answered by the Cambodian government. It also refers to provisions of the Democratic Kampuchea's constitution, which raise concerns in terms of the protection of basic human rights from the point of view of Amnesty International. There are two more documents which are relevant to this issue. I will only note them and I will not read from them. They are two earlier letters to Khieu Samphan. They are D84/2.3, D84/2.3, and D84/2.4. These two documents were not on the Rule 80 list, so I'm not presenting them, but simply noting in passing that there are additional records of correspondence that relate to Amnesty International attempts to bring the allegations to Democratic Kampuchea government's attention and to have the allegations addressed. Your Honours, the next set of records, which we will move to now, relate to Khieu Samphan's role in relation to the functioning of the Ministry of Commerce of Democratic Kampuchea. There are a number of documents that are relevant to this appointment. I will just note them for the record. E3/182, the 9 October 1975 minute, which we've already referred to, where Comrade Hem or Khieu Samphan is assigned responsibilities, among other things, for commerce, for accounting and pricing. In that document, Comrade Tuch or Khoi Tun was assigned responsibilities for domestic and international commerce. Of course, as we know from the record, Khoi Tun was purged. And of course, Comrade Vaughan, number 7 in that document, Vaughan Vet, was assigned responsibility for industry, railroads and fisheries. And also we know from the record that Vaughan Vet was purged towards the end of the DK period. I'm going to essentially build here on a presentation that one of my colleagues delivered on the 10th of October 2012, where he looked at the creation of the ministries, so I will not repeat that information, but I will just refer to the relevant documents. They are E3/233, where Khieu Samphan is again assigned responsibilities with respect to matters of the purchasing of merchandise from abroad and the matter of banks. And document E3/220, where you will recall Comrade Dawn of Office 870 was assigned certain responsibilities in relation to commerce for 3 months, May, June and July of 1976. That second document also contained an instruction that Comrade Rith, who is Van Rith, the Minister of Commerce, was to go to Hong Kong to initiate contacts for purchases. And you will recall, Your Honours, that my colleague presented on the 10th of October a number of reports to Comrade Dawn from the Ministry of Commerce, whereby the Ministry reports to Comrade Dawn on various negotiations with foreign governments, and then from October 1976 those reports are submitted exclusively to Khieu Samphan. Of course, these are the documents that we have, the surviving records. As my colleague indicated, there are a total of 28 documents which contain such reports, which are either addressed or submitted to Khieu Samphan. And as I indicated, they span the period from October 1976 to the end of the life of democratic Kampuchea. My colleague has already shown 2 documents, but I will simply add to that by showing a few more, and we will refer to them briefly, simply by way of illustrating that authority structure as the documents seem to reflect. The first document is E3/1618, which is also E3/3513. This is a Ministry of Commerce report, number 0691-77. It is dated the 29th of November 1977, and it relates to a visit by a Yugoslav technical team to Kampong Som. Attending that meeting from the Cambodian side were Comrade Rith and Comrade Lamut, who of course is witness Sakim Lamut, who has testified before Your Honours. What is interesting about this document is what it reflects about the relationship between HEM and the Ministry of Commerce. At Khmer ERN 00002846, French ERN 00665-471, and English 00680-478. On that page, the authors of the report state, on that occasion, representative from Rodnab Company raised several issues with regard to the equipments that have just been delivered to Cambodia. Following your guidance, we were able to settle as follows. We're not going into the substance of the document because it largely deals with commercial and technical issues. The report ends with the following quote, "Kindly, brother, serve this for your information and have comment on these particular issues." It bears an annotation that it was already sent, or that copies of it were already sent to Brother Hem and Brother Vaughan. The next document in this brief series that we're putting before you this afternoon is E3/1637. This is again a Committee of Commerce report from the 12th of November 1978. In this case, again, negotiations with the Yugoslav delegations. And again, the report ends with, "I would like you, brother, to be informed of this report and give your comments as guidance. Especially, I would like to invite the ministry in charge of this spare part issue to come and discuss and make decision accordingly." Signed, Committee of Commerce. And the document has, in the top left-hand corner, an annotation indicating that it was already sent to Brother Hem. and you can see that on the screen. Those were negotiations with the Yugoslav delegations, and two more documents, this time relating to the Chinese delegations. The first is E3/3461, addressed to beloved and respectable Brother Hem. It is a report of a meeting with Chinese friends on the 28th of April 1978, attended on the Cambodian side by Comrade Rit and Comrade Say. Again, it deals with technical matters and ends with the following: I would like you, brother, to be informed and to give guiding comments. The distribution line indicates that this document was submitted to Brother Hem, Brother Vaughan, K51 and Archives. And finally, E3/3455, another report of negotiations with Chinese representatives. This deals with exports and imports between the two countries. Again issued by the Ministry of Commerce, addressed to beloved and respected Brother Hem. At this meeting from the Cambodian side, the participants were Comrade Rit, Say and Chang. And again, the document seeks instructions from Khieu Samphan. It is sent to Brother Hem, Brother Vaughan, K51, and 2 copies to be stored in documents. And it is signed by the Commerce Committee on the 24th of January 1978. As we go through these documents, I would note, for the record, that the closing order states at paragraph 1190 that approximately 482 individuals from the Ministry of Commerce were sent to S21. And this is a potential, or rather an issue of relevance, when considering the responsibilities, roles and contributions of Khieu Samphan vis-à-vis the ministry. In addition to these specific reports that are addressed to Khieu Samphan, the case file also contains a total of 51 tables or ledgers or records of export and import, and of the, among other things, of management of a credit given to Democratic Kampuchea by the Chinese government. There are 51 records here, so we will only look at a couple of samples. And before I do that, I will indicate that, again, my colleague showed or presented before Your Honours 2 ledgers, which were also addressed to him. They're out of this collection of 51. He did this on the 18th of October 2012, and the 2 documents are D366/7.1.487, which was a weekly report on rice collected from various zones, and also document 18.68, which was another ledger relating to the import and export of various items. The 2 documents that I wish to show you today, again for illustrative purposes out of this larger collection, or rather we may look at 4, but we will be brief. First, E3 E3/312, and this is a ledger which deals with the use of the credits to which I referred earlier from the Chinese government. The relevance here is that it is submitted to brothers Hem and Vaughan, and that is apparent from the annotation on the first page. The annotation is signed again by Rith, dated 22nd of May. The document itself is dated the 21st of May 1978, and it is issued by the Commerce Committee. What is relevant about that document, in addition, again, to the reporting structure that it reflects, is the exportation of rice that it records. This is at Khmer ERN 000-72692, French 0066510, and English 0068548, and this ledger records an exportation to Madagascar of 14,623 tons of rice for the year 1978. And you can see that on the screen. Moving on to the next ledger, similar document, dated the 20th of October 1978. The document number here is E3/2515, E3/2515. Again, it is sent to Bang, Vaughan and Hem, and we see that on the first page where there's an annotation. It also deals with the expenditure of the loan of 140 million yuan. But then 2 pages on, it records some of the exports to China. This is at Khmer ERN 00278-318, French 00760043, and English 00748-405. At that page, item number 7 is stated rice 15%, weight 5,017 tons. 2 more documents that record the functioning of the Ministry of Commerce under what appears to be supervision by Q Sampan, according to the documents. The first document is E3/1640. E3/1640. It is a letter to the Embassy of the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, dated the 15th of July 1978. Again, it bears an annotation on the first page that it was submitted personally to Brother Hem, and a signature of the 16th of July. The letter is of interest because it records, and there in the section which is now on the screen, the arrangements to export 5,000 tons of white rice, and also, among other things, 3,240 tons of coffee beans of variety number 1, of number 2, 2,610 tons, etc., etc. The letter actually indicates that this export could not proceed due to a technical miscommunication or a delay in reply from the Yugoslav authorities. But further down, it indicates that earlier in 1977, the Ministry of Commerce had arranged an export of 5,000 tons of husked rice, and also quantities of coffee, pepper and peanuts to Yugoslavia through the Kampong Som port. The document is signed by Van Rith. And the last document in this brief series that we're considering is E3/3533. E3/3533. Again, it contains an annotation on the first page that it was already sent to Brother Hem. It contains commerce statistics on total goods exported to Chinese market. What is interesting here is that it contains a full list of, or a list of various ministries there on the first page from which exports had been arranged. The relevance of these documents, Your Honours, if I can recap, in addition to the authority structure, or rather the authority of Khieu Samphan, as it transpires from these documents in respect of the Ministry of Commerce, is also that the documents appear to reflect a centralised coordination of the gathering of produce from around the country by the Ministry of Commerce, and then, of course, the exporting of that produce, as well as the coordination by the Ministry of Commerce with various other ministries in relation to matters of import and export. These are matters relevant for the purposes of understanding the communications and authority structures of Democratic Kampuchea and the authority of Khieu Samphan in relation to at least one such ministry. The next subset of documents which relate to the Ministry of Commerce are on a slightly different topic. They are correspondence between the Ministry of Commerce and the cadre who were assigned to work in Hong Kong at a company whose name has already been referred to in the course of this trial, Ren Fung. And the relevance of these documents is, again, the inclusion of Khieu Samphan on numerous of the records. Document number E3/323. E3/323. This is the earliest record in this particular subset, dated the 22nd of July 1977. It is a letter by the Commerce Committee to beloved and missed Comrade Sok. Sok's full name is Ing Sok, as we will see in a few moments, and he was one of the managers and shareholders of the Ren Fung company in Hong Kong. In the top left-hand corner of that document, we see an annotation which reads, "Sent to Bang Hem to check before sending it to Hong Kong." So it indicates an involvement by Khieu Samphan in this particular communication. The next document is E3/334, and this one, again, is a letter to Sok by the Commerce Committee, dated the 3rd of February 1978. And on the first page of this document, again, there is an annotation which states, "Sent to Bang Hem for comments before sending to Hong Kong." As we move forward, there are a number of documents in this collection where Hem is mentioned or provided copies of correspondence that is addressed to Ren Fung or to Comrade Sok by name. And I will read some of the relevant document numbers without showing them on the screen in the interest of time. The first is 21.98 from the 3rd of March 1978. Then D161/1.47 from the 9th of June 1978. The next one, D161/1.4 from the 7th of July 1978. Then D161/1.46 from the 3rd of August 1978. And D161/1.43, 11th of August 1978. All of these are letters addressed to Hong Kong, to the company Renfeng in Hong Kong, or SOC, the individual we saw a reference to earlier, and all of them are also copied to Khieu Samphan by his revolutionary alias Hem. What the next series of documents reflects is a arrangement for the return to Cambodia of Ing Sok and his wife, and the transfer of shares in the company which they were in charge of to another individual. The picture is somewhat incomplete because we don't have all the records, but I will take you through the ones most relevant and indicate what their particular importance is for present purposes. The first is E3/1902, E3/1902, and it is addressed by Comrade Krin. Comrade Krin had previously been in charge of the Ports Committee in Kampong Som, and he is assigned that responsibility in standing committee minutes. But here he is reporting from apparently Hong Kong, and in E3/1902 he says the following: "Greetings to respected Angkar. After having received a response from lawyers that they cannot assist in transferring the names between Comrade Sok and myself because the Hong Kong administration, the British, will not accept the signature and stamp of our foreign ministry, I relied on a Chinese person who knows French to accompany me to a law firm to inquire on the law and procedures on this transfer." And further down he states, "If Angkar agrees with this opinion, please have the Ministry of Commerce make the decision and the letter of transfer, as was already done for me, but leave blank the space for the signature of Comrade Nath, so she can sign in front of the lawyer." Comrade Nath, as we will see, is the wife of Comrade Sok. And the document seems to reflect an attempt to transfer shares between the married couple, Sok and Nath, to Comrade Krin. And here he is seeking assistance from Angkar in that regard. The next document here that is relevant in this particular series is E3/1907, and it deals with problems with the transfer of shares, and it implies that Comrade Sok is already back in Cambodia. It is dated the 27th of October 1978. It is addressed to lovely and missing comrades Krin and Nat. Krin, of course, being the new appointee in Hong Kong, Nat being the wife of Sok. And I'll read a couple of passages. It states, "We received information from Angkar about the report of comrades with regard to transferring the authority between Comrade Krin and Comrade Sok and the transfer of shares from Comrade Nat to another comrade. And then it deals with the problems of transferring the shares, which appear to arise from the fact that SOC is not present in Hong Kong. The fourth paragraph reads as follows: with regard to Comrade Nath's shares, please sell them directly to Comrade Krin. A little bit further down, if the delay relating to the transfer of authority when selling shares still exists for this second option, please, Comrade Nat and Comrade Krin approach all together before the Hong Kong lawyers and transfer the authority from Comrade Nat to Comrade Krin by hiring Comrade Krin to be responsible for the company. A little bit further down, no matter how you do it, the key issue is to provide Comrade Krin with power to manage the company as set by the rules of Hong Kong administration. There are records on the case file that indicate that during this period, Khieu Samphan continued to be included on correspondence between the authorities in Cambodia and the company in Hong Kong, and one of them is E3/1771, which is also found in E3/1779, a letter of the 1st of December 1978, issued by FORTRA, F-O-R-T-R-A, the Cambodian Registered Company for Trade. On the 10th of December 1978, the Commerce Committee issues an instruction for Nat to return to Cambodia. This is in E3/875. E3/875. It is dated the 10th of December, as I indicated, and it is addressed to Comrade Krin and Comrade Nath with love and nostalgia. And I will read a couple of excerpts from it. We are instructed by Ankar that Comrades Sok and Nath are to be given a new task in the near future. Because the party has opened an education hall for party cadre for the consecutive sessions through 1978, comrades have been able to receive some training before carrying out their new tasks. We would like to request that both of you properly manage the tasks in the company and jointly solve the remaining issues. Upon the completion of the tasks, we would like to request that Comrade Krin help facilitate a return to the country trip of Comrade Nat and a child named San Feng, and make sure that they are safe and well. And you see that letter on the screen, Your Honours. We would like to wish you both, comrades, very good health and success in your next endeavours with Highly Revolutionary Fraternity Commerce Committee. So this is a letter of the 10th of December 1978 directing Comrade Nat, the wife, to return to Cambodia with her child. The next document that I wish to present is E3/1532. E3/1532. It is a prisoner sheet from S21 for an individual named Ing Sok, the same individual who we saw addressed in those letters from the Commerce Committee. And under number 3 of that document, the positions he held are described as former chairman of land transport and commerce chairman stationed in Hong Kong. Under 11, place where detained, state commerce, and 12, the date of his detention, the 29th of December 1978. The next document, and if we could display this one on the screen, is another S21 prisoner sheet. It is E3/1533. It is the prisoner sheet of Halva alias Nat, so individual we saw referred to in the correspondence earlier, the wife. Her position under number 3 is indicated as member of the Committee of State Commerce stationed in Hong Kong. Her place of arrest, again, State Commerce, and the date of arrest, the 30th of December 1978. In summary, having been directed to return to Cambodia on the 10th of December 1978, by the 30th of December 1978, Comrade Nat, together with her husband, was at S21. Document E3/1533, the last one we looked at, contains also the photographs of the individuals concerned placed on the case file by the co-investigating judges. The first 2 documents contain pictures of Ing Sok, and if we can, we will display it on the screen. So these are the photographs of Ing Sok during his time in Cambodia. And then if we scroll down and to the next page, this is Ing Sok and his wife, Palva, alias Nat, in Hong Kong. And further down, again, a photograph from Hong Kong of Ing Sok. And lastly, on the last page, a photograph of Palva, alias Nat, in her office in Hong Kong, and then her photograph, a photograph from her prisoner file at S21 on the right-hand side. That concludes the section dealing with the Ministry of Commerce and the role of Khieu Samphan. Next, Your Honours, we would like to turn to a set of documents which contain statements by Khieu Samphan which relate to the commission of crimes in Cambodia. They're relevant because some of them are made shortly after the end of the Democratic Kampuchea period, and they reflect his state of mind or statements as made by him. Document E3/628 is a Time magazine article entitled A Plea for International Support. It's dated the 10th of March 1980, and it contains what is described as a rare interview with Khieu Samphan. We will read one portion of that interview. This begins at Khmer ERN 00709453 and French ERN 007400913. Question: do you feel that your government made mistakes during the 4 years that the Khmer Rouge held power in Phnom Penh? Answer: after our war against the pro-Western Lon Nol government, we had to face many complicated problems, but we had one major achievement. We solved the food problem for our people. Of course, there were some shortcomings. Even our cadre, communist officials, had their shortcomings. Various estimates have been made of the number of people who were killed while you were in power in Phnom Penh. How many people were executed? Answer: we never engaged in mass killings. There was no reason for us to carry out this so-called genocide. Some people say we killed more than 3 million. That is not true. Question: how many people were eliminated when you made your revolution? All I can say is that the number was not more than 10,000. Question: so you are saying that the almost unanimous testimony of refugees in Thailand and that of other witnesses is incorrect? Answer: they are not correct. Very few people were against us. That is why we have succeeded in conducting our people's war against the Vietnamese invaders for the past year. We could not have done this unless we had the support of the people. About those executions, that is in the past. The next document in this series of statements by Khieu Samphan on the crimes committed during the Khmer Rouge period is document E3/203. It is a rather lengthy transcript of a taped interview with Khieu Samphan conducted by Steve Hedder. There are numerous relevant passages, including those relating to the then war with Vietnam and the government in Phnom Penh. Of course, that postdates the 79 period, so I will not refer to it. But then the document moves on to deal with allegations of what the Communist Party of Kampuchea had done, the allegations of criminal activity. And they begin, this section begins at Khmer ERN 00385-409, French 00434-231, and English 00424-013. And I'll read selectively from a passage here because it is a very long document, where Khieu Samphan says the following, quote, "However, there were innocent people whose lives were affected. I would like to stress that they were affected by Yuan agents, by Khmer people who were Yuan undercover agents in our authority lines. Those people held important position." A little bit further down, "As you may know, during the First Indochina War, there were Viet Minh cadre and army carrying out activities in Cambodia and controlling resistance movements in Cambodia. It was then when they established their agents to serve their Indochina strategies. Since then, year by year, those agents had gained more and more important positions, and they had worked undercover in our movements. In 1975, it was those people who obtained important positions. A little bit further down, he discusses the incident of the attempted arrest of Sao Pim, the East Zone Secretary. That section is as follows. Quote, "I would like to tell you that Hang Samrin, for example, was the commander of a division that had been organized by the Yuan." Question, since the 1970s? Answer, since the 1970s. "I fought against him to force him to return the troops." Question, when did he escape to Yuan territory? In 1977. Answer, in 1977. It was in 1977 or 1978 that we started fighting. Question, was it before the event of Sao Pim? Answer, during the event of Sao Pim, he escaped the Yuan. Question, you have mentioned that those people had distorted the line. I would like to ask you whether those people played a role in the formulation of policy. Answer. This is a discussion, by way of context, this is a discussion of people who Khieu Samphan had alleged had distorted the policy, cadre at the highest level of the party. Yes. Answer. Yes. They had, because they were important people in charge of important positions. Thus, they participated in the formulation of policy. Since the 1960s, we formulated independent lines and principles in attempting to control the destiny of the people's movement independently. At that time, those people were there. They were UN agents. They served the UN Indochina strategy. A little bit further down, they adapted themselves and gradually they achieved more and more important positions. Between 1975 to 1978, they carried out their actions. A little bit further down, question. In 1975, what percentage of them were in the senior ranks of the party, in the Central Committee or in the Standing Committee? Answer, there were many. Question, half. Answer, less than half in the Central Committee, but nearly half in the Standing Committee. The relevance of that passage, of course, Your Honours, is that numerous members of the Central Committee and the Standing Committee were purged during the Democratic Kampuchea period, according to the evidence on the file. The next passage I would read relates to the possibility or question whether or not some of the arrested cadre were innocent. This is a Khmer ERN 00385-413, French 00434-236, and English 00424-015. Question. I would like to ask you if, among the party's world-renowned leaders who have died since 1975, were there any of them who were innocent? Were they killed because they had been implicated, or were they killed by UN agents? Answer. The case did not occur to senior leaders, but it occurred to some cadre. Question, cadre? Answer, because the UN agents had accused them abusively. A couple of paragraphs below that. Question. What I wanted to ask you at the time was about anyone who was accused of being either CIA agents or UN agents. I want to ask if any of them were accused of being UN agents in order to kill them, in order to kill true patriots. Did that happen among the upper echelon? Response? Yes. There was a comrade in the West. He was an old man. He was accused by the UN agents. They were responsible for that. They accused him. However, they were not successful because we investigated the case in a timely manner. And before I leave that document, I will just indicate that the time of the interview, or the date of the interview, is apparently the year 1981. As we move forward, a brief reference to a document I actually discussed during our presentations on the historical background, E3/687, E3/687. This is a New York Times article dated the 9th of July 1982, which records a response by Khieu Samphan to the effect that he had participated in the collective.
The President, since it is now appropriate time for the adjournment, the Chamber will adjourn for 20 minutes. The next session will be resumed by 3:05.
សូមក្រោកឈរ